Skandaliti, founder Acharya's Divine Grace of Prabhupada ki Nalacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur ki Samavata Bhakti Hari Nama Sankirtan ki Kantaraj Bhagavatam ki Tiny Thakur ki all glories to the assembled Buddhas, all glories to the assembled Buddhas, all glories to the assembled Buddhas. All that is the Sri Guru and the Sri Gauranga. All that is the Sri Prabhupada. The offering of pranam is meant to be done in a particular standard way, which is a yoga posture. Otherwise, we are concocting, and whenever we concoct, we deviate. Om Ajnanatirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Taksurandritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamanam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Svam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Sakanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Taptakan Sanagorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidede Pranami Vansakalpa Tirubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyayevascha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraye. Before reciting this Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nastapreshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed and practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Namyam Swasayanam Maha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda,
Prabhu Nityananda,
Sri Advaita Gadadhara,
Sri Advaita Gadadhara,
Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Vivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya,
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 Om Sarabhyaya Namaha,
Om Surabhyaya Namaha,
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha,
Om Surabhyaya Namaha,
Om Sarabhyaya Namaha,
Om Surabhyaya Namaha,
Mukam karoti vasalam tvangum langayate girinda Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram, Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram. One very small type of bird, what do you call it? They make very nice sound. They just came a few seconds ago. I haven't seen them. There's a practice. There's a habit, I guess, to put out some. You've seen? Put out some small seeds or grains for birds.
We put some food there.
Huh?
We put some food on the sill there.
Put some?
Food on the sill there.
Oh, there, right? You can put some in the front here also. But we should have also there's a kind of a,
Hold.
you can hang it on a tree, something, and you seen that?
Yes. I don't know if it's common.
It's quite common. Yeah. Anyways. Here in Mayapur we already have birds, but it's attracts more birds. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Today we are continuing chapter 18, entitled The Description of Varnashrama Dharma as spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself to His most confidential devotee, Sri Uddhava. And we pick up from text, see, which one is it? 31, right? I gave 31, yeah. So text 31. Na udvijita janad dhiro janam chodvejayan na tu ati padam titikshita navamanyeta kanchana. This text has 3 lines. Yeah, which means 6. Deham Udishya Pashu Vad Vairam Uryan Na Kenachit Nodvijita Janadadhiro Janam Chodvejayan Natu Ativadam Stitik Navamanyeta kanchana
Navamanyeta kanchana
Deham udishya pashuvad
Deham udishya pashuvat
Vairam kuryan nakenachit
Vairyam kuryana kenachit
Vijita janad dhiro
Nodvijita janadhiro
Janam chodve jayan natu
Janam chodve jayannatu
Atibadam stitiksheta
Ativadam siddhiksheta
Navamanyena kanchana
Navamanena kanchana
Deham udishya pashuvad
Deham udishya pashuvat
Vairam kuryan kenachit
Vairam kuryana kenachit
Nodvijita janad dhiro
Nodvijita janadhiro
Janam chodve jayan natu
Janam chodve jayannatu
Atibadam sitiksheta
Ativadam siddhiksheta
Navamanyeta kanchana
Navamanyeta kanchana
Deham udishya pashuvat
Deham udishya pashuvat
Vairam kuryan nakenachit
Vairam kuryena kenachit
Nodvijeta janadhiro
Nodvijita janadhiro
Tadvijayannatu
Janam chodve jayannatu
Adivadam stitiksheta
Ativadam siddhiksheta
Navamanyeta kanchana
Navamanyeta kanchana
Navamudishya pashuva
Deham udishya pashuvat
Kuryana kenachit
Vairam kuryana kenachit Nodvijeta janadhiro
Nodvijita janadhiro
Janam chodve jayannatu
Janam chodve jayannatu
Ativadam siddhiksheta
Atibadam sitiksheta
Navamanyeta kanchana
Navamanyeta kanchana
Deham uddishya pashuvat
Vairam udishya pashuvat
Vairam kuryana kenachit
Vairam kuryana kenachit
Nodvijeta janadhiro
Nodvijeta janadhiro
Janam chodve jayannatu
Janam chodve jayannatu
Ativadam siddhiksheta
Ativadam siddhiksheta
Navamanyeta kanchana
Navamanyeta kanchana
Deham udishya pashuvat
Deham udishya pashuvat
Vairam kuryana kenachit
Vairam kuryana kenachit
Na never
Never
Udvijita
Udvijita
should be disturbed
should be disturbed
or frightened
or frightened
Janat because of other people
because of other people.
Dhira
Dhira,
a saintly person
a saintly person.
Janam
Janam,
other people
other people.
Cha
Cha,
also
also.
Udvijayat
Udvijayat
should frighten
should frighten
or disturb
or disturb.
Na
Na,
never
never.
Tu
Tu,
indeed
indeed.
Atibadam
Ativadam,
insulting
insulting
or harsh words
or harsh words.
Titikshita
Titikshita,
he should tolerate
tolerance.
Na
Na,
never
never.
Avamanyeta
Avamanyeta
should belittle
should be little.
Kanchana
Kanchana,
anyone
anyone.
Deham
Deham,
the body
the body.
Udishya
Udishya,
for the sake of
for the sake of.
Pashuvat
Pashuvat,
like an animal
like an animal.
Vairam
Vairam,
hostility
hostility.
Kuryat
Kuryat,
he should create
he should create.
Na
Na,
never
never.
Kinachit
Kinachit
with anyone.
with anyone.
Translation and purport by disciples of the Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai. Saintly person should never let others frighten or disturb him, and similarly should never frighten or disturb other people. He should tolerate the insults of others and should never himself belittle anyone. He should never create hostility with anyone for the sake of the material body. for he would thus be no better than an animal. Kind of repeat after me. A saintly person should never let others frighten or disturb him. And similarly, should never frighten or disturb other people. He should tolerate the insults of others. And should never himself belittle anyone. He should never create hostility with anyone for the sake of the material body. For he would thus be no better than an animal. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has stated, Trinadapi Sunichena Rariva Sahishnana Amanena Manadena Kirtanya Sada Harihi. Translation. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. End of translation. A Vaishnava should never disturb any other living entity with his body, mind, or words. He should always be tolerant and never belittle others. Although a Vaishnava may act powerfully against the demons of the Lord's, for Lord Krishna's sake, as did Arjuna, Hanuman, and many other great devotees, a Vaishnava becomes very meek and humble in regard to his own reputation. Translation again. A saintly person should never let others frighten or disturb him. And similarly, should never frighten or disturb other people. He should tolerate the insults of others and should never himself belittle anyone. He should never create hostility with anyone for the sake of the material body, for he would thus be no better than an animal. Very important instruction, which is described actually as the foremost quality of a Vaishnava. Actual Vaishnava is firstly and mostly, primarily concerned with the welfare of all living entities. He is described as paradukki. He is, for himself, that's nicely explained by Prahlad Maharaj, for myself I have no anxiety. I have no worries. Even though Prahlad Maharaj was being challenged and threatened very seriously, not only that, but assaulted in different ways. So this very, I guess Krishna puts us in different tests at times. Here the double instruction is given. We should never be afraid of anyone or disturbed by anyone. And similarly, we should not disturb others. That is the actual meaning of non-violence. Of course, Prabhupada gave an even more elaborate and deep meaning to the concept of non-violence. One who becomes a devotee automatically, by the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, develops all of these wonderful qualities that are actually there in Krishna, and does not have to make any separate endeavor. So, Srila Prabhupada's concept, Srila Prabhupada's realization, understanding of non-violence, he was explaining once to devotees that when he was, I believe, still in India as a grihastha, he was, because Prabhupada was, even before leaving for Vrindavan, he was known as, someone who knew Shastra, and he would be invited sometimes to give discourses. Just like we see sometimes devotees from early age, because they have become serious about reading from Shastra, and they become very, we have many examples within our own society. Devotees are still quite young, but have very nice understanding of Shastra, and they give very inspiring lectures and classes and discourses. So there was some kind of, there was some ceremony in connection with Mahatma Gandhi. Prabhupada was invited and requested to speak on the subject matter of ahimsa, non-violence, because Gandhi was promoting ahimsa. And then, so Prabhupada was relating that many, many years later to the devotees, and he was telling how when I was invited to go and speak, I explained that real ahimsa is actually not only avoiding to cause either physical or mental disturbance to others, but real ahimsa is in different ways not allowing or preventing people from actually knowing about Krishna, from actually becoming engaged in the loving devotional service of the Lord, because that is our that is our constitutional position, and that is the only way we can actually become happy and satisfied. Which is, Prabhupada had that understanding and that vision so acutely developed, and constantly it was in the forefront of his mind, and that's part of the reason that kept him so focused on preaching the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he, of course, there were other factors as well. Prabhupada was aged by the time he went to America, so there was a sense of urgency. I don't know how long I have, and he also explained that in many ways. So this is the vision of the, we talked about Paramahamsa. Those are advanced devotees. They are very conscious about avoiding to cause all kinds of pain or suffering to all living entities, not only human beings, and always trying to find ways by which the living entities can be released and relieved from their suffering condition. This conviction that until and unless one knows about Krishna, until and unless one is engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, that person is suffering. That person is miserable. And therefore, violence occurs whenever people are prevented in different ways, and that was Prabhupada's firm conviction that all the leaders in modern day society from all different levels are not giving this, isn't it? They're not allowing, they're not, because they themselves don't have it. They themselves are not Krishna conscious. Unless one is Krishna conscious, one cannot understand the value, the importance and the need and the urgency of spreading Krishna consciousness. So, Srila Prabhupada, one time, I'm not sure if it was here in Mayapur, he was in his room somewhere, and then he had noticed one kind of insect, one fly, kind of like stuck in between windows or something, like we see often. I mean, generally we don't think about it, no. But Prabhupada had called his servant and told him, you take out that fly from there, open the window, and liberate the fly, liberate. Because, the flies are meant to be flying outside. And so this is the vision and the understanding of those who are on that platform of self-realization. And this cannot be imitated. It's like, we are confronted very often. People may disturb us either vocally, when we preach, we disturb some people, especially, there are many incidents, one devotee in Montreal, very simple devotee, one day he went out, happens quite some years back, he went out on Harinam because it's like a regular practice, of course, for devotees. And then that particular day, somebody was very agitated because of the Harinam, and that person just happened to choose him, and to kind of, he beat him up. He said, I didn't do anything. I was just there chanting on Harinam. So he stopped going on Harinam for some time. But the idea is that there will be, by our preaching activities, those who are still covered, those who are of the maniac mentality, will become disturbed. But we should not become disturbed, and that is only possible if we are genuinely cultivating Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada would give the example often of Lord Jesus, who was, to the point of being crucified. But still, he had that mentality that, my dear Lord, my dear Father, please forgive them because they do not know what they are doing, isn't it? Yeah. So this is the mentality of those who are covered, heavily covered. They are they are mad, and they become mad at times, and they do. Of course, anyone who is not Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada would often say they are mad. Um, um, because, or they are crazy, because of being on the bodily platform and doing all kinds of activities which are actually causing. It means that it's only one who is cultivating Krishna consciousness who is a real well-wisher. That is nicely described also in the Bhagavatam. Titikshava karunika suridam sarvadehinam. One absolutely needs to develop this quality of titiksha. Titiksha means tolerance, and also karunya, mercy or compassion. And to the extent that one actually develops these qualities, only then he can actually preach, isn't it? Why is it that somebody like Srila Prabhupada took all this trouble, all these, took upon himself what is called like a burden of love, burden, accepting all kinds of inconveniences. As Prabhupada would say, people are not, generally, people in old age don't venture out of the house too much, or at least they don't go that far and whatnot, especially alone by themselves. But that risk Srila Prabhupada was ready to take, and he did. So because of his very intense feelings for the suffering conditioned souls, and again, that's not something that we can imitate, but we should try to appreciate it in others, and of course we should try to develop within ourselves also. Otherwise, we cannot be very active in the mission of the Lord. The mission of the Lord is meant to be always in the forefront of our activities. There is only this one mission in the world. That mission is twofold in terms of developing ourselves, our Krishna consciousness, and simultaneously doing our utmost, whatever we can, to bring Krishna consciousness to others. So these are nice qualities and descriptions that are given here. We should, if we are really surrendered, if we are really understanding that Krishna is our all in all, Krishna is the only shelter, then what is that expression? Mare Krishna Rake Ke, Rake Krishna Mare Ke. If Krishna is there to protect us, who is there to actually disturb us? And if by providence we are meant to be destroyed, then that type of by providence means by Krishna. Nothing happens by accident. When we say providence, it means it is sanctioned by Krishna. And because sometimes people, they ask this question, I've been asked this question, and I'm sure others also, that you're a devotee, why this thing is happening? Why why so-called bad things happen? Comes down to that also. Why bad things happen to good people, and why good things happen to bad people? So a devotee is someone who is always in that mood of surrender and accepts all types of conditions, not overly concerned or worried about his personal, individual situation. So it continues here with some, let's see, yes, this section describes the mood, the mentality of a Paramahamsa. Okay, text 32. Eka eva paro hyatma bhuteshvatma navastitah yatandur udapatreshu bhutani katmakani cha. Translation and purport: the one Supreme Lord is situated within all material bodies and within everyone's soul. Just as the moon is reflected in innumerable reservoirs of water, the Supreme Lord, although one, is present within everyone. Thus, every material body is ultimately composed of the energy of the one Supreme Lord. All material bodies are composed of the same material nature, which is ultimately the potency of the one Supreme Lord. Therefore, one cannot justify feelings of hostility toward any living entity. In carrying out the Lord's mission on earth, the bona fide representative of God never becomes envious or hostile toward anyone, even when chastised by those who flagrantly violate the laws of God. Every living being is ultimately the Son of God, and God is present within everyone's body. Therefore, saintly persons should be very careful even when dealing with the most insignificant person or creature. Yeah. So it means not only should we be friendly and respectful and sensitive to, let's say, the needs of devotees, not only we should see the devotees as you know, servants of God or children of God, but we should develop that vision, which of course is there in the Bhagavad Gita. Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmane Galihastini, Shulisaiva Swapakisa, Pandita Samadarshinaha. Pandita Samadarshinaha. Again, that cannot be, it is, that's why we speak of cultivation of knowledge. Cultivation of knowledge is not only just hearing or reading, but actually applying, isn't it? Cultivation of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness by applying it, by living that philosophy. So the pure devotee, the Paramahamsa, he sees everyone actually as a devotee. Um, uh, it's just that one has forgotten that he's a devotee. One has somehow allowed himself to take on so many demoniac traits or qualities. So when we have that vision, we will do our utmost, knowing, convinced that everyone is a devotee, to try and revive or awaken that original consciousness in other human beings, and give opportunity also to other living entities who are not in the human form of life to somehow begin their Krishna consciousness also. This type of vision or understanding will gradually be developed and manifest. You can read one more text here. Text 33. Alabdavana vishideta
Alabdhavana vishideta
kale kale shanam kvachit
kale kale shanam kvachit
labdavana rishyad dhritinam
Navana vishedritiman
labdavana rishyad dhritimam
Navana vishedritiman
Ubhayam daiva tantritam.
Udayam devatantritam.
Translation and purport. If at times one does not obtain proper food, one should not be depressed. And when one obtains sumptuous food, one should not rejoice. Being fixed in determination, one should understand both situations to be under the control of God. Purport. Because we desire to enjoy the material body, the varieties of material experience brings us flickering happiness and inevitable suffering. We foolishly consider ourselves to be controllers and doers, and thus, through false egotism, we are subjected to the volatile feelings of the material body and mind. What is that practice by one sannyasi? Sannyasis we were discussing the other day, sannyasis in one particular group here in India, they're very strict, especially when it comes to their eating. What do we do?
Swaminarayan. They
Yeah.
mix everything with water.
They're quite well established group actually in India and outside of India also, Swaminarayan group. So they're sannyasis.
Brahmacharis also.
Okay, brahmacharis also. Yeah, I suppose. The brahmacharis are trained. So they have just one, I don't know if it's the same size, is it?
Everybody has
Same size. Okay. I've seen some of our devotees trying that out for some time. They have one size bowl, and whenever they take a meal, everything is put in that bowl, and it's like, I guess, automatic khichdi.
Then they mix water.
They mix water in it. Okay. Now that's
Even the sweets.
huh?
Even the sweets.
Yeah, the chutney, this yeah, that may be considered as one extreme, but it shows how, well, it definitely helps one to be, not, to avoid this type of situation where one rejoices when there's a big feast, just like after Kadasi or whatever, or when there's some big Vaishnava festival, usually have a feast. The idea is that we should avoid being on the body platform, which is constantly demanding to satisfy the senses. We should be. We should also, even in our eating habits, we should be sober. And important instruction, although we give a lot of importance to prasadam, and prasadam offered to the Lord needs to be very opulent as well. But that was one of the important instructions given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, isn't it? Raghunath Das Goswami, to avoid eating opulent food, to avoiding dressing with opulent cloth, etc. like that. Yeah. Okay. Any thoughts, questions? So we can close here then. Jai Canto11 Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
That's